amazing odyssey of Harry Wu, convicted of espionage in China, sentenced to 15 years in prison, then surprisingly sent home to the U.S., all within a day.
That's good. That's excellent.
A surgical breakthrough that could save the lives of about 1,000 newborns each year.
Okay, now we're in.
And a heroine returns to the site of the crash that almost killed her.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Sitting in tonight, Forrest Sawyer.
Good evening. China sent one of the big sticking points in its relations with the U.S. flying to San Francisco today. Harry Wu, an American citizen who has plagued China for years with his human rights campaigns, was today sentenced to 15 years in prison for espionage. Washington has been pressuring for Wu's release since he was arrested trying to enter China. And shortly after the sentence was handed down, Wu was on a flight back home. The U.S., which was told of Harry Wu's expulsion only after he was in the air, welcomed the move. ABC's Mark Litke has more.
The trial of Harry Wu as it appeared in a report on Chinese television tonight. Wu, his head bowed, appears weak and distressed as he listens to a judge read the verdict in the central industrial city of Wuhan. For the crimes of spying and leaking state secrets to foreign organizations, 15 years in prison and expulsion from China. Several hours later, there was only this statement from China's official news agency. American Harry Wu was expelled from China this evening by the Chinese Public Security Bureau.
I'm too happy to really tell my feelings. And I want to thank all of those who helped with the rescue of my husband.
Wu had been in custody since June when he was arrested trying to enter China from Kazakhstan, even though he had a valid U.S. passport and visa. It was one of several journeys he had made here, usually undercover, to document human rights abuses in Chinese prisons, a subject he knew well. Wu served 18 years in Chinese labor camps for criticizing the Communist Party. After emigrating to the U.S. in 1985, he helped American and British news organizations with documentaries on forced labor in Chinese prisons. This is what led to the espionage charges against him. Last month, the Chinese released this video of Wu in which he is said to have confessed, allegedly admitting that he even fabricated information given to foreign reporters. Wu's supporters believe the confession was coerced. Throughout his detention, the U.S. government repeatedly demanded Wu's release, warning that the case threatened to further damage relations between Washington and Beijing. Tonight, China insisted that resolving the Wu case was a matter of Chinese law, not international relations.
It is the Chinese judiciary exercising its independent power in accordance with China's sovereignty. Therefore, this case or verdict has nothing to do with Sino-U.S. relations.
Still, it appears the Chinese decided that sending Harry Wu to prison was not worth more damage to China's image abroad, especially on the eve of the major international women's conference, which begins here next week. Mark Litke, ABC News, Beijing.
This is John McWethy. From Wyoming, where the president is vacationing, the White House put out a restrained statement saying the release of Harry Wu removes an obstacle to improving relations between the U.S. and China. It also removes the last barrier to Hillary Rodham Clinton's travel to China next week to participate in the United Nations Conference on Women. Earlier today, UN Ambassador Madeleine Albright, who will head the U.S. delegation to that conference, which is designed to promote and protect women's rights, said it was important for the U.S. delegation to go whether Harry Wu was free or not.
I think that when we go and we speak out, there is no way that our voices will not be heard and that it will be more effective in pursuing our human rights cause than if we had not gone.
Since China's crackdown on the democracy movement 6 years ago in Tiananmen Square, relations with the U.S. have been strained. Disagreements over Chinese weapon sales to Pakistan and Iran, its insistence on nuclear testing, and its bullying of Taiwan have all created tensions. But human rights has been the most difficult issue to manage, and the case of Harry Wu was apparently causing the Chinese more trouble than it was worth.
As long as they had held Harry Wu, everything was frozen. Now I think it opens the door to trying to at least put a floor on this sort of free fall of the relationship and try to fix it.
But human rights activists point out there are still 1,000 dissidents in Chinese prisons.
The release of Harry Wu does not symbolize the policy change of the Chinese government towards human rights.
But it does ease the tension for the moment, and it does show that on some cases, a rigid Beijing government is willing to bend if the price gets high enough. John McWethy, ABC News, the State Department.